Good morning, everybody. Good morning. My gosh. Good evening, everybody. What a way to start the day. Um, Here we are, Hockey Talk Live with yours truly, Sam Welby. It's almost the morning, uh, so I know it's late. Thank you guys so much for being here. It is much appreciated. This is going to be our regular time, at least for the time being for Hockey Talk. Typically, the reason why we've picked 10 o'clock is it's going to be following the early hockey games. So normally, the early games will begin around 7, 7:15, 7:30, and should be done, by this time. So it'll give us a chance to watch the games and then come in and talk about it. So good evening, Christina, Coach, Sean, Shauna, Ganza Daddy, Coaster Mom. Thank you guys all so much for joining us off the hop and get started. We are going to try and get through everything. I'd like to keep this around half an hour. That's my goal for these streams. Now, just to let everybody know, the side games that we have are open, so you definitely be able to play along. So if you're not a big hockey fan, but that's okay. We still love that you're here. Still like to have you in the chat, and definitely play along. So in case you haven't played the games before, how it works is pretty straightforward and easy. Exclamation mark gamble, the amount you want to gamble. Exclamation mark duel, the amount you want to duel, and the person you'd like to duel with. So you'll see it. A lot of people will populate it in the chat. Feel free to jump right in and play along. As you're here and you're watching and you're active in the chat, you will continue to earn points. As you earn those points, you can then play along with them. So that's how the side games are going to work. So welcome in. Fasten your seatbelts, tape up your hockey sticks, but don't worry, you don't need skates. We're going to jump in and get going. First and foremost, I do definitely want to thank Sean. That was an amazing stream earlier today. If you haven't already subscribed to Sean Urban, look him up. Sean, drop a link if you want to your channel. Let's make sure to get some subscriptions his way as well. So awesome. Again, thank you, everybody. Let's talk some puck. It's been an exciting few hours and days since we talked last, and a lot has happened in the world of the NHL and the world of the Toronto Maple Leafs. So first and foremost, one of the big things to happen the other day was the Leafs have announced that we have signed forward Brendan Kressler to a 3-year entry-level contract, which takes him through the 23-24 season. Now, he is 18 years old, just a baby, tallied 18 points, 9 goals, 9 assists through 46 games with the Flint Firebirds in the OHL during the 1920 campaign. He was ranked second among Flint's rookies in goals and assists and points for that season. So lots of exciting things to come from Kressler. He was selected by the Firebirds in the second round, 28th overall, in the 2019 OHL priority selection. So that's really exciting. Good young kid, lots of potential. So we'll see what happens with him down the road. Another big story that has come out of the Leafs camp, as you may or may not know, the other night, last night actually, the Leafs played a blue versus white game. Now, this is a tradition where during the preseason, they split the roster into 2 teams, and they try and get a good sense of how everyone is jiving together. A lot of emotional connections between players and really how they play. Usually speaking, these games are not high-hitting affairs, not a lot of strong contact. Well, Nick Robertson, who's one of the Leafs' budding young prospects, looks to make the squad this year. I'm hopeful, and he has a lot of potential. Well, he's playing hard, and he has always played hard. And Mitch Marner, one of our biggest stars, one of our most expensive stars, they happened to get in a little scuffle, and it wasn't much, but Robertson was playing hard, and he hit Marner and hit him good. I didn't see the hit, but reading all about it, it sounded like, he was just playing hard and he did what he had to do. So now Robertson did come out and say, he went a little too hard and probably shouldn't have gone so hard. But coach came out with a different statement, and he kind of said, that he really appreciated the play Robertson made and that he'd never question how much he wants it and what he's willing to do in terms of his effort. So that's really, really good news from coach that, when you have a young prospect and he kind of lays the body on one of your top guys, it can get a little dicey, right? People get a little nervous. But in this case, coach is appreciative of it. So there's a couple other news stories I want to run through, but I want to let you guys know on a couple milestones that us as a channel, we're really, really close to hitting. So if you haven't subscribed already, whether you're watching us live now or you're tuning in for a replay, please do hit that subscription button. We are one subscriber away from 160, which is a huge milestone. So we'd love to get that, in the next couple of days. So thank you so much in advance. As well, and we may hit it tonight. If not tonight, definitely, through the replays tomorrow. We are 48 views away from 25,000. That is a huge milestone, and I'm so appreciative for everybody who's lent their eyes to this channel, whether it's Hockey Talk or our retro show or any of our live streams, to give us some views. But we are 48 views away from that milestone. So 2 huge milestones that we could get at any moment. So I appreciate you guys being here, appreciate you hitting the subscription button, and definitely continuing to watch tonight and watching a couple other videos down the road or even after this wraps up, and help us get to those milestones of 160 and 25,000 views, which is mind-blowing for me. So thank you. I can't thank you enough. On to a couple other stories from around the league. One of the bigger stories for the Leafs is the status of I can't say our superstar because we have so many of them. The status of Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews had wrist surgery. He's been out for a while. He hasn't played yet. There's a lot of, jockeying of positions around to see which forward is going to play with Matthews. He will play with Marner, but on the other side, who's going to be there? So rumor has it right now, and all the reports say that if Matthews does come back, it won't be until the last preseason game, which is slated for next Saturday. He will get one game under his belt, hopefully, and we're looking at newcomer Nick Ritchie getting that spot with Marner and Matthews to see how that trio starts the season. I personally think that's a great combination. I really like Nick Ritchie, and we talked a little bit about Ritchie last week. Brings some grit, some toughness, and he definitely will help create some space for Marner and Matthews by standing up for them at where he can. Some roster moves, because it's preseason and because we have huge rosters right now, there's been definitely some bodies kind of going out. William Villeneuve, who I think they actually just signed last week, just before our stream, he's been cut. He's been let go. He's actually signed back in the ECHL. Forward Rich Clune has been cut, and Curtis Douglas. The Leafs also waived Timu Kivhelm. Yeah, good luck pronouncing that one. Which essentially means he's cut as well. But that's okay. Some other news coming out of Leafs camp is a big signing, a new 2-year extension for the coach. Coach Keith signed for a 2-year extension, which is great. He has definitely put a lot of effort in with these young guns, and locking him up for another 2 years will let him see this, this period go through. If the Leafs do not have a good year this year, they will definitely jump right into some rebuilding. Not only will they move some players around, but that probably means coach as well. So that's a lot of Leaf news. Let's kind of talk a little bit about what's going on around the NHL. Nick Backstrom could miss the Capitals season opener. So he's still been rehabbing an injury to his left hip. He has not resumed skating yet. This could be a big blow for the Capitals. Now, I know it's early in the season, but Backstrom has been, a huge offensive threat along with Ovechkin for the Caps. So hopefully, if he does remain out, it's not going to be for too long of a time. Now, Blackwood, oh, there goes the screen. We've lost the screen. There you go, live on stream. Let me put this sucker back up. All right, awesome. I love things happen live all the time. Mackenzie Blackwood makes 15 saves in his first preseason start. It's topped the Islanders in overtime. This is a really positive sign for the Devils, where goaltending has been a little shaky. Blackwood has been a high prospect with high hopes, so it's nice to see him starting to make a little bit of a difference. Now, the Seattle Kraken, I haven't watched too much about them, but they have such an interesting group of talent that have all come together. And so we'll have to see how the Kraken really plays out. I know it's still a little early to tell, so I'm not really paying attention to their preseason too much. When you bring a new team together, and this, when I say new team, like literally an expansion team with all new players who haven't played together, it's going to take them some time to get together. But it'll be interesting to see where the Kraken goes. Now, one of the other big potential injuries is Brock Besser from the Vancouver Canucks. He could be out the rest of the preseason with an injury. We don't have too much information on him, but I'm very curious to see where he goes. Hopefully, he is able to come back and play, at least one game in the preseason, but definitely back for the start of the season. And as well, some interesting information with Larkin and Bertuzzi. They've both been cleared to play for the Red Wings. With Bertuzzi, Tyler Bertuzzi, an interesting story came out where he actually refused. Well, I shouldn't say refused. He chose not to get vaccinated. So that's fine. Everyone has their choice. But he's running into some border issues for their games when he has to come into Canada because he hasn't been vaccinated. So he's going to miss, I forget what it ends up being, however many games in Canada. He's going to sit those out. And we'll see what the NHL is going to do. I haven't heard anything in regards to what their vaccination policy is going to continue to build up and look like. But it's an interesting choice. There are a few other players that are in that same position, but I haven't heard too many names get thrown around. Now, as well, out of the Edmonton Oilers camp, it's really exciting. They have Duncan Keith, so veteran defenseman, skating for the first time and should make his debut on Monday with the Oilers, which is pretty cool. I'm watching the Oilers a little bit closer than I normally would, just because my boy Zach Hyman has kind of been moved out there, and I'm kind of rooting for them. I'd love to see Zach Hyman do well. So a couple other things to look at in regards to the world of hockey, specifically for our Maple Leafs. So here's the upcoming schedule. We have, the 4th, October 4th at 7:30 versus the Ottawa Senators. And then the very next night, October 5th, they are going to be playing the Montreal Canadiens. And the big rumor here is that after that game on the 5th against Montreal, the team is going to buckle down and make a whole bunch of cuts and try and get the roster as close to what their actual home opening roster will look like. Their final preseason game a week from tonight, October 9th, where they will hopefully have what their actual squad is going to look like and be able to roll that out. When we kind of reunite and come back next Saturday following that game, we will definitely break down everything we saw in that game, what the roster looks like, and what the first week of the NHL season is going to look like as well. So some interesting things coming out of the Leafs preseason games. Now I know there's really only been 2 games so far, but the biggest thing is Michael Bunting. And so when we spoke last week and we talked about the Leafs roster as a whole, one of the kind of key puzzles I mentioned and very briefly we discussed was Bunting. What kind of an impact is Bunting going to bring to the Leafs and to the team? Is he going to be lost? Is he going to be more of a grinder? Like, what's his role going to look like? Well, he managed in his 2 games to put up 4 goals, which is insane. And now, yes, 3 of those goals, he had a hat trick in the last game. But the thing to remember is when he played in the second game, the Leafs didn't have any of their big guns playing. Bunting played with Josh Ho-Sang, who also looked really good, putting up 3 assists on Bunting's goals. So between the 2 of them, you can see right at the top, each with 2 games, 4 goals for Bunting, 3 assists for Josh Ho-Sang. They really seem to have a good connection. Josh Ho-Sang is still on a professional tryout with the team, so we'll see if they offer him a full-time contract, which I hope they do because he has so much upside. I know he had a bad attitude and was rumored to be very difficult to coach, but it looks like he's turning things around. As we look at kind of the rest of the roster, you'll see a lot of the big names. Like the first big name, William Nylander's, more than halfway down the list. Sandin is putting up some good points. TJ Brody is getting in on the action. Cache is doing good, or Cash. So when you figure that Nylander and Tavares and Muzzin and Riley are all at the bottom of the list, that's talking a lot of good things for the Leafs. So there's a lot of great potential. Now, I definitely want to say this hockey talk is not just about the Leafs. As much as I love Leaf Nation, and some people that might be here or watching the replay are big Leaf Nation supporters, I want to talk about some other teams as well. And one of my other favorite teams I want to focus on is my Florida Panthers, my home away from home. I'm a big Panther fan, a big Panther believer, and they have such a solid team going into this year. So just kind of looking down their roster, Barkov, of course, Barkov is Barkov. He is always going to be, well, I shouldn't say always, but right now, in my opinion, their top player. You know, Moving down the line at the center position, Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett, who came to the Panthers, I think it was the trade deadline or just before last year, who was on fire. Got Florida into the playoffs. Yeah, they had to face Tampa Bay. We talked about Tampa Bay winning the cup last year. I still think they did it dirty, but Sam Bennett was great. He's re-signed with Florida, and he's going to take the second line. Then it's for the third and fourth line. It doesn't really matter. But Joe Thornton, who they signed from my Leafs. All the best to you, Joe. I hope you do better in Florida. It was a little bit of a tough go here. At left wing, some great potential still of all those wingers on the list. Jonathan Huberdeau, he's right up there as one of my favorites on the Panthers. So I know he's going to do great things. A couple other newcomers to the team on right wing. Sam Reinhart also came over. Sam Reinhart definitely has a lot of potential. And, if he is going to end up playing on the right side with Barkov, we'll see some great numbers from him. Owen Tippett. Owen Tippett was someone, I think he was drafted by the Panthers and he's brought up in the Panthers camp. It's nice to see him moving into that second line spot. Again, a nice young kid with a ton of talent. And if he's going to be playing with Huberdeau and Bennett, that line is fire. That is money. Anthony Duclair and Patrick Hornquist kind of back there as well. Duclair, a real speedster, and Hornquist bringing some of that veteran leadership to hopefully help kind of round out the squad and get them to the playoffs again and hopefully a little bit further. On the defensive side, Mackenzie Wieger had a fantastic year last year. I had him in my pool. He was awesome. Solid defensively, put up some great offensive numbers. So we look to see him to continue doing his thing. With Anton Strawman as well back there, definitely gives a lot of potential. Aaron Ekblad, of course, he's the rock, right? He is the defensive star on the Panthers. had a tough ending of his season last year, crashing into the boards, really hurting himself. But hopefully he comes back, bounces back this year stronger than ever. With Brandon Matador, we have Gudis back there for some toughness. And of course, in goaltending, Sergei Bobrovsky. You can't go wrong with Bobrovsky. Bobrovsky is solid. He always puts up good numbers. He does great things, and we're really, really looking to see him be a star. So that's kind of just reviewing the Leafs, the Panthers. I'm so excited that this season it's a heartbeat away, right? We're going to do this again next week. We're going to look through all of the teams. We're going to see how the Leafs finished up the preseason, how the Panthers finished up the preseason, and then we move into the regular season. And this excites me because and I had it up and fell down before, but this really is what we get crazy about. When hockey starts, it is a challenge to win this trophy. It is every player's dream to one day hold this above their head and skate around the ice. And now that we got fans back in the buildings, capacity's up there, it's going to be super, super exciting and a wild ride. So I look forward to seeing what the Leafs do. I am so not confused. Confused isn't the right word. I'm so intrigued to see what they're going to do with this roster and the players they have. Who are they going to cut? Who are they going to keep? Who's going to go to the Marlies? I know, I could put up some slides and show you who I think right now the rosters are going to be like. And I think we did that last week. We kind of looked at what we believed the final rosters were going to be. There's not too many spots for these guys to make. So they're going out over this next week and they're working hard and they're trying to make an impression. And the decisions that the coaching staff and the management staff are going to make really and truly are going to impact this season. It's going to be a tough season. All the teams around us got better. Tampa is still good. Boston. Boston. So it's going to be a challenge. Montreal still has, they're improving. But I think we can do it. So let's take a look down here. I see Christina mentioning the movie The Cutting Edge. Christina, I love that movie. Being a huge hockey fan, in the idea of taking, a hockey player and a figure skater and putting them together, it's such a great story. And I know we've talked about it previously with the show up here that we had on CBC, Battle of the Blades, where we took that concept and put it into reality, where we took ex-hockey players and put them in with figure skaters and saw in such a short period of time kind of what magic they can make. So The Cutting Edge was so, so good. Of course, when we want to talk hockey movies, The Mighty Ducks. You can't go wrong with The Mighty Ducks. It will always be the classics. If you haven't watched the new Mighty Ducks kind of TV series on Disney Plus, highly recommend it. Now, up here, I don't know if it's the same in the States or overseas, but here in Canada on Amazon Prime, there is a documentary, and I haven't watched it yet, all about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So I'm excited to watch it. I'll probably end up watching it over the next couple of days. So definitely something we can talk about on a future episode. And I'll let you guys know what I think. But I would be curious to see if it's something that is expanded to all of Amazon, not just kind of up in Canada. So lots of good things happening around the NHL. My Leafs, the Panthers, the Oilers, there's so much going on. But it's not just the NHL that's really kind of kicking off right now. All minor leagues kind of around here are getting underway. I know our boys are starting hockey. They're going to start in the next couple of weeks as well. So it's going to be running from rink to rink, watching them play, and then back to watch the pros, which is really, really exciting. This will be Noah's second year playing and Jacob's fourth year, I want to say. So hockey is everywhere. But more importantly, yes, they're going to have fun. They're going to have a blast. I'm going to have fun, watching the pros and reporting back to you guys and talking about it. But what I'm really excited about is getting to share NHL hockey with the boys as a family, with you guys, my friends, and being able to continue to talk about all the good things. So that's really everything I wanted to cover in this episode, and I got it in the time frame I wanted to do. So I'm going to ask you guys in the chat. I'd like to know who your favorite teams are, and if you're not a huge hockey fan, and maybe you don't have a team that is, particularly one that you root for, is there a team that you've heard of or maybe you've seen that you enjoy, or potentially not an NHL team? Is there a local team that you guys go and watch? I know I forget who it was I was talking to recently, um, and they made a comment about a team. They're kind of local. I think it was a AAA team that they used to go and watch, and some of that hockey is unbelievable hockey. When I was growing up and starting to kind of figure out what I wanted to do in my career, I spent some time working for the St. Michael's Majors, the OHL, doing kind of game operations there, and watching some of that hockey was amazing because you had guys who were trying to make it to the pros. They were passionate. They were grinding, right? They were fighting for, you know, potentially be drafted and make a name for themselves. So it was really truly amazing to see, them move through that program and get there. And I talked last week about one of the guys who I had the pleasure of meeting, who is now on my Leafs, and that's Jason Spezza. And Jason, I know you're probably not watching this, but it's one of those moments that I'll never ever ever forget, where uh, it was before the game, and I was kind of just standing by ice level, just kind of taking in the empty stadium, and you kind of walked out, and he was taping his stick and getting ready, and I kind of turned and was like, "Man, you're Jason Spezza," and he's like, "Yep." How's it going? And we kind of talked for a few minutes, and off he went. But it was just so cool that he was kind of the top dog back then in the OHL, and you know just him being so calm, cool, and collected, and having a very casual conversation before he went off and continued his day was just so awesome. And these guys are all like that. If you've ever had the chance to meet a player before from the NHL, depending on when you catch them, obviously, if they're sitting in a restaurant eating and you go up and stick a camera in their face and ask for an autograph and pictures, they might not be so friendly. But most of these guys are so cool and they're so down to earth. Another story I'll share with you guys real quick. When I was working for the majors, and we were playing a game at the Air Canada Center, or I guess it's now the Scotiabank Arena. Um, how it worked is kind of the majors played there in the early afternoon. As that game wrapped up, they left, they cleaned the stadium. Then, the NHL game was that night. So often, once the games finished, we had kind of a lot of duties we had to do to kind of wrap everything up, clean up, pack up, and kind of get out. So as we were, doing our stuff and making our way out into the parking lot, a lot of the Leaf players were just arriving, so they could start doing their afternoon routines. So coming out of the building, I ran into in the parking lot Gary Roberts, and some of you may know Gary Roberts, some of you may not. He was a pretty decent name, real tough player, real grinder, heart and soul of a team, real passionate guy. He's now a big fitness guy, big trainer, and we saw him and we were like, "Oh, good afternoon, Mr. Roberts." And he was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He's like, "How's the game? Who won?" And it was so cool that an NHL player of his caliber was taking the time to kind of just talk for a minute and ask about this game of, I don't want to say kids, but really teenagers that doesn't impact him whatsoever. But the fact he was willing to inquire and just chat about it was something so awesome. And it really goes to show a lot of these players, not only, do they have a desire to win and a passion to do well on their own, but they like to support each other. And as much as we do, in our community that we have, where a lot of you have come in from, um, we all support each other. And that's what makes this channel do well and Sean's channel do well. And I know, our other friends aren't here, but it's what makes everybody play well together. So on that note, I wanted to keep this to a half an hour. Um, I want to say thank you guys so much for joining us so late in the evening. It's been a pleasure to talk hockey with you. We'll be back next week, of course, to continue the chat. Um, we'll let you know how this week goes, who's cut from the team, what those final rosters are going to look like, what the Leaf and Panther teams are going to look like going into the regular season. And as always, please feel free at any time if you have any questions about hockey, the sport, a team, drop a comment. I'll always get back to you. I really appreciate all of your support. And I'm going to take one more scroll through the chat and see. I just want to make sure I haven't missed anybody or any questions that have come up. Thank you, Christina. I really appreciate it. Thank you for always being so supportive. Let's just take a quick scroll back here. Shauna, how are you? Thank you so much for coming in. And Carla, you guys are amazing. What does our top tier look like? Oh yeah, so here's the games. Looking at the top, we have AAU and Miss Breezer still holding out the top with Sean and Coaster Mom right up there as well. So definitely a good scoreboard. Lots of points where everybody can be reached. So until next time, I will say thank you all for stopping in. We'll see you real soon.